Here's Mike Johnson in Congress laughing about this. I go, what? Peaceful? They're torching buildings, or torching cars, breaking windows at the LAPD building.
Clearly, the Democrats are making a mistake by taking the wrong side here.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to, in my southern gentlemanly way, say, bless her heart. Maxine Waters. I don't even know how to comment on Maxine Waters anymore. It's madness. I'm going to be charitable and leave it right there. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. New reporting suggests that no tax on tips and no tax on overtime could be scaled back from the One Big Beautiful Bill if they aren't viewed as pro-growth. Have you talked to some senators that are skeptical of that, like Senator Johnson? And you've said before that there isn't a plan B, but if that does come back to the House without these provisions, is it time to go back to the drawing board?
Look, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime are big promises the president made to the people, and we all echoed that on the campaign trail. I've talked to my good friend, Senator Ron Johnson, multiple times, most recently, I think it was last night or night before last, it was on Sunday, because he was on some shows and I was on some shows and we were comparing notes. And I told him, look, we all agree with our Senate colleagues who believe we need to cut more and more government waste, fraud, and abuse, obviously. But I told him, reminded him of the reality of the delicate balance we have in the House and the fact that we have a very broad caucus and we've got 170 additional personalities to deal with than they do in the Senate. And it takes a while to meet this equilibrium point. Look, I think the promise on no tax on tips and no tax on overtime is very important to the president. It's very important to hardworking Americans. And what we're so proud of our reconciliation bill is that it is truly geared and written for middle and lower class earning Americans, the hardworking Americans who are trying to feed their families and make ends meet. They are the ones that are going to benefit from this bill. The Republican Party is the party of the working class, and we are demonstrating that with our legislation. And no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, for some people, they may not think that's a big thing, but for hardworking folks, a lot of them, millions and millions of Americans, that is a big thing to them, and I think it's an important promise for us to keep.
Mr. Speaker, switching gears a bit, the FACE Act. It's right now being marked up in the judiciary. To bring it to the floor, and the importance for the Republican Party and leadership of bringing this to the floor.
Yeah, look, it's a big commitment of ours. Applaud Chairman Jim Jordan and the judiciary. He always does a great job handling that. It's a big priority. We have to protect free speech. We've got to protect what are actual peaceful protests, and we got to stand for our core principles. I think all that's wrapped up in that legislation, and I expect it'll go well, and I expect we'll pass it through the House when it comes through committee. So one last question. Yes.
Just running back to the LA protests.
Yes.
Is there a red line for congressional Republicans regarding President Trump's use of executive authority to, say, deploy federal law enforcement, 700 Marines? Is there a situation, say, if he invoked the Insurrection Act and directed federal law enforcement to arrest Governor Newsom, that would make Congress step in and check?
Look, I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals, but I've said very clearly, I was sitting next to the president at the White House yesterday when some of these questions were asked. He is fully within his authority right now to do what he is doing, and we have to maintain order. It's the number one job. Think of it, y'all. The number one job of government is to protect the citizenry from foreign threats and domestic threats. And federal law enforcement is doing their job. Those are the heroes, and we've got to protect them, and federal employees as well, and federal buildings and property. We're not going to let violent criminals destroy the property of U.S. taxpayers. President Trump has put his hand on the table and said, not on my watch, and we applaud that. So we're standing with him. Thank you.
All right, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, taking a few questions there after a press briefing with the Republicans. So some LA questions, some budget questions, and big, beautiful bill questions, and a big vote coming out on Thursday. So we'll keep our eye on that and see where that one goes.